A lot of people think that you deserve a Nobel Prize. Do you? Here, here, why not, man?
Voici Selby, l'auteur de Last Exit to Brooklyn, livre culte, on exulte.
Hubert Selby, how did you become a writer? Well, I left home at 15. I went to sea. And when I was 18, I was taken off a ship in Germany, and I was told I couldn't live more than 2 months. I spent, I don't know, 3.5 years in the hospital, and they ended up cutting out 10 ribs and not leaving a hell of a lot of me left, as a matter of fact. And during that time, I started to read, and they had 3 different occasions I was supposed to die. And I knew that 2 things were going to happen to me just before I died. Number 1, I would regret my entire life. And number 2, I would want to live my life over again, and then I would die. And that terrified me. The thought of living however many years, 80, 90 years, whatever it's going to be, and looking at my life at the end of that period and realizing I did absolutely nothing with my life terrified me. So I bought a typewriter, and after 2 weeks I wrote a letter. How long did it take you to write Last Exit to Brooklyn? 6 years. I had a job, I was supporting a family, and I'd come home at night and I'd spend a couple of hours writing every night, and I worked at it for 6 years. You never went to school and you never read. How did you manage to get such a sophisticated style? Well, because I think of something that happened to me, I understood that the primary responsibility of the artist is to be free of the human ego, that I don't have a right to impose myself between the work and the reader. So I did everything. I worked very hard to get me out of the book. And I write by ear. So music is very important to me. And so I have to develop a style of writing, a typography that reflects what I hear, and I have to find the exact words to describe what I see and what I feel. And what I want to do is put the reader through an emotional experience, which means that I have to experience every emotion that I'm putting in the book. By who have you been influenced in writing? I don't know if I was influenced by Celine, but I feel closer to him in many ways than any other writer. We've all been influenced by James Joyce, but my primary conscious influence as a writer is Beethoven. How do you explain that the following novels were less successful? I don't. I don't know what. The only explanation I can think of, at least in the States, is that with Last Exit, most people could look down on the people in Last Exit and not see that they're the same as they are. But with the other books, there was too much of a threat, because this is just anybody walking the street, and that's too much of a threat to them. I think that may be the primary reason. You sold 2 million copies, and then you were obliged to live on welfare. I was on welfare about 4 years ago, so that's like almost 20 years after the publication of the book. And I've spent a lot of time staying alive. I've had physical problems. And I also indulged myself for a few years and managed to throw away a lot of money. However, it all comes together in the end. Why didn't you come to live in Europe? Now, there's a good question. Why didn't I? I was probably too drunk to get on a plane. I don't know. It seems to me I should have done that. I don't know. Sometimes you just can't get out the front door. You know why Kubrick, De Palma, and Arthur Hiller and Robert De Niro did not succeed in making this movie? I'll tell you what I believe. I believe that the movie is a film of destiny, and it had to be exactly the right time with exactly the right people. And Bernd Eichinger and Uli Edel are exactly the right people, and this is exactly the right time. I think that's why it hasn't been done before. The screenplay is less dark than the book. Did you agree with that? when the film is over and you're leaving the theater is the same as when you finish the book. The book is relentless. There's no light, no hope in the book. However, what happens to the reader, and this is what many, many people have told me, is that the book is so horrifying that they end up with a sense of compassion for these people. So although the book is so dark, they end up realizing that they're capable of loving somebody who is loveless. So there's a very positive kind of result for the reader. And to get that on the screen, some changes had to be made, and that is the end result of the film. Although there's a lot of violence and brutality on the screen, the end result is when you come out of the theater, you don't want to hurt anybody, but you'd like to do something for somebody. So the end result inside is the same from the book and the film. Tell me about the character you play in the movie. Georgie was responsible for my writing the book in the first place. I had written part of The Queen is Dead, and I found out that Georgie had been found dead in the street. And it moved me very much, and I finished writing the story because I felt that Georgie just shouldn't be a forgotten corpse, that there should be some dignity and some memory. And so I finished the story, and from that came the book. So it seemed appropriate and poetic that I would drive the car that kills Georgie, and we can finally put Georgie to rest and let him find some peace. Where and how do you live now? I live in Los Angeles and actually West Hollywood. And I live comfortably now. I haven't had to have a job for the last 2 years. I have enough money coming from the movie to allow me to just stay home and write. And I'm a very peaceful, happy. Did your hate for mankind and God vanish with age? There's a quote from an old Spanish philosopher that says, "Those who deny God deny him because of their despair at not finding him." And because of what has happened in my life, I've discovered something within me. I guess some people call it God. I don't like to use that word too much because it's a tough word. People misunderstand it. What I've discovered has nothing to do with church or religion. It has nothing to do with anybody's concept of God, but a power of infinite and unconditional love that has created and maintains the universe has revealed itself to me from within here. And I attempt to live according to the principles that this power lays down. A lot of people think that you deserve a Nobel Prize. Do you? Here, here, why not, man? I'll even pay for the ticket.
Et pour être sûr de ne rien rater de Inarditube, abonnez-vous et mettez un pouce bleu.